Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Alex Dworkin and I'm a managing partner at 40 Capital. We specialize in one-of-a-kind math that allows us to predict the stock market and individual stocks with extreme accuracy. We typically calculate the stock market in three-dimensional space, and on top of that we have developed a number of very accurate timing indicators, and when we combine both we can essentially predict with extreme accuracy, and whether we're talking about short-term or long-term doesn't really matter, what any individual stock or overall stock market will do going forward. I personally believe our work is nearly identical to what Jim Simmons was able to accomplish at Renaissance Technologies, if you're familiar with Jim. So today is going to be a look at one of our fast movers. We pulled out yet another stock that we believe will bottom very soon and then increase quite dramatically in value over a short period of time. Now, before I jump into the stock itself, which is going to be Accenture, let me just very quickly explain what I mean by fast movers. So over the years, we've figured something out, and what you see on the chart in front of you, a very simplistic representation of a very complex set of mathematical calculations. So the triangles you see on the bottom and the top represent two different things. They're very similar to Hurst cycles, if you're familiar, but basically we call them cycle composites. And the cycle composites at the bottom are responsible for the bottoms. Whether we're looking at, once again, individual stocks or the overall stock market, it doesn't really matter. And the composites on top are responsible for the tops. So we noticed that when there's a very short period of time between the major cycle top and the major cycle bottom, or mid-cycle top and mid-cycle bottom, when there's a short period of time between those 2 points, we typically, not always, but we typically get a very fast, powerful move, and we call them fast movers. So as you can see here on the chart, we're looking at the chart of crude light oil, and this is exactly what happened. We had a major cycle top here, the oil spiked into it, and then subsequently a couple of months later, we had a major cycle bottom here. And within that period of time, we had a major collapse in the price of the commodity. And it was a very similar situation here off of 2020 bottom. We had a mid-cycle bottom that needs to be adjusted a little bit for this graphical representation, but nevertheless we had a major cycle bottom here, and then it spiked all the way into the major cycle top here. Okay, so this is what we call fast movers. Now let's look at the let me see. Okay, so let me close this and look. Let's take a look at Accenture. So once again, the triangles you see on top and the bottom represent cycle composites, and I forgot to run them back a little bit more so you can see them on previous tops and bottoms, but nevertheless this is the accurate representation. The lines you see on the chart is what we call cycle clusters. Once again, our software has the capability to scan back, and then we add our proprietary cycle into the mix. It is able to identify those cycles during the history of the stock and then project them into the future, and that's what you see in the chart here. And what we found over the years, once again, is that typically important turning points happen not when there's any particular cycle arrives at any given time, but there are a multitude of cycles arriving on the same day or within the same week, if we're talking about a longer term composition of any given stock. So if we have 2, 3, 4, 5, the more the better, and the stronger they are, the better it is, then rest assured there's going to be a turning point at that particular juncture. So what you see here are the lines representing cycle clusters. So if you look right here at the left side corner, we see this one picked out the top, 2 cycles, this one midterm top, 10 cycles, and this one's coming up on September 15, 2 cycles, so on and so forth. So basically, when we look at cycle composites, it will get you within the neighborhood of, let's say, 1 to 2 months margin of error associated with any turning point. But when we begin to looking at individual cycles and cycle clusters in particular, they will oftentimes give you the exact date of any particular bottom occurring at that time. So as you can see, Accenture is moving into this very important bottom scheduled for September 11th of 2025. It also has this line associated with it for September 15th, and we have these green dots associated with the possible bottom for the stock One is at $208, another one at $178. So the question becomes exactly where the bottom is, where is the bottom exactly in terms of price and time, and what happens thereafter. And what happens thereafter is fairly easy to answer. Once Accenture hits this major cycle top, I'm sorry, major cycle bottom, it is scheduled to begin to increase quite dramatically into this mid-cycle top, and then subsequently mid-cycle, a major cycle top that is scheduled for right here. So the mid-cycle top is scheduled for November of 2026, hence the fast mover. Within a 12-month, approximately within a 12-month period of time, we expect this stock to appreciate quite significantly from this major bottom to this major top. Okay, so that's the timing of it, the approximate timing of it. In terms of price, these two are definite possibilities, but let me just be very straight with you and say that in this particular situation, let me minimize this. In this particular situation, we're not necessarily happy with the range of prices our forecast is producing. Typically, our work can produce very accurate forecasts, but not always. Sometimes they're a little bit mixed, or I should say not as exact as we would like it to be, and this is definitely the case with Accenture. So there are a couple of different possibilities. One possibility suggests that perhaps we've seen the top that we've seen a couple of days ago. I believe it was $235. As you can see here, the stock did hit into our target. This is once again just a different representation of our multidimensional calculations. So we did hit into this possible target, and the dark blue indicates that this is a very high probability area for the bottom. However, the time turning point associated with the bottom is not scheduled to arrive until early to mid-September, let's say September 8th to September 15th. So there is still possibility of lower lows, and we do have associated prices with it heading as low as, let's say, $193, $203. So let's say $195 plus or minus $5 approximately there. So not as clear as we would like it to be, but when this is the case, we typically, instead of trying to hit the bottom perfectly and take a position there, what we typically suggest to do is to wait for some sort of a technical confirmation and then put in some sort of a technical trigger. That, of course, depends on your own personal risk profile and how you would like to trade, but that's what we typically do. If the stock begins to come back and break below the recent low, breaks below this particular corridor, so to speak, then we know that it's heading into this particular area, and the price forecast becomes a little bit easier. But at least for the time being, we know that it's heading into, well, we know that there's quite a possibility that the bottom has been achieved already. And in that case, those interested in trading this particular stock should look for some sort of a technical entry that is surely to come over the next couple of days, weeks, but perhaps it takes a little bit longer. So the final question becomes, how far does it go? And the answer is at least a double from the actual bottom. Let me actually show you the chart of that projection. So this is the chart off of the bottom, and we are projected to go into at least $550, $600 a share, but there are much higher targets around $800 a share by the time perhaps that November of 2026 top for the stock arrives. Okay, so it is not as exact as some of our other projections, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, so to speak, for this particular stock. Now, we do have a free trial associated with our work, and in that trial we give a bit more specifics and a bit more accurate targeting analysis associated with this and other stocks. So if this is something that would be of interest to you, I do highly encourage you to request a free trial. Link at the bottom of the description of this video. And no credit cards, no strings attached, and you'll have access to that information. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We typically post daily videos of opportunities such as this. We have a review of mega cap stocks, overall market, so on and so forth. We also have a webinar coming up this Friday. Last one was very successful. This one is limited to 10 people. We still have a few spots left. If you want to attend, please subscribe. Not subscribe, but register for it. Once again, the link at the bottom of this video. And the benefit of that particular webinar is the fact that we discuss the overall state of the overall stock market. This is our bread and butter. We typically don't discuss what the overall stock market is doing or going to do in the future. That is not going to be the case here. We actually look at the analysis of the overall stock market and we tell you what it's going to do going forward, at least based on our mathematical and timing calculations. And finally, there's a link at the bottom of the description or in the description of this video that take you down the path of how we calculate the market in multidimensional space. You can verify the numbers and go down that rabbit hole should you choose to do so. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your time. We'll be back with one of our mega cap stocks tomorrow. Bye-bye.